It may seem like rushing the football and in the game of football for 1,000 yards is becoming more common, but in actuality, it's still a major feat to obtain. It may not be as common as you think. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Water Cooler Talk Sports. My name is Nick Frazier. Thank you so much for joining us around here at Water Cooler Talk Sports. If this is your first time here at Water Cooler Talk around the cooler with us, please like the video, comment on the video, subscribe to the video, subscribe to the channel as well. If you're returning and you're watching again, or you're around the water cooler with us regularly and you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button, like the comment, like the video, comment on the video, share the video, share the content. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers before the end of 2025, and we're trying to go that way. So please help us out. It will be greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. Let's get into the conversation today, man. Jeremiah Cobb has a very, very great opportunity ahead of him going into this Iron Bowl game on Saturday. We're less than 48 hours away. We're about 48 hours away. Well, a little bit more than 48 hours away if you want to go by the math. But 2 days away roughly from this game happening, man. It's come quick. It has gotten here fast. It has gotten here pretty quick, man. But he has an opportunity to come out here and do something that is a staple in Auburn football. As much as we see the evolution of the game and offenses try to go more to this spread attack, more to this, getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands very quickly to their playmakers and all types of stuff and all type of things like that. We see Jeremiah Cobb has the opportunity at this moment to do something that is still a major feat in college football and football in general. It seems as if a lot of teams or a lot of people look at it like, oh man, it's another 1,000-yard rusher. We kind of say that a little too loosely. We say that very, very loosely now. Rushing for 1,000 yards is still a feat in its own. You get into that exclusive 2,000-yard club. That's a whole nother stratosphere. But still getting to 1,000 yards on a season is still a major feat, especially now when you look at how the game has changed. The running back position used to be one of, if not the premier position on the offensive side of the ball, because a lot of teams understood, that if you have a dominant rushing attack, you can control the clock, you can control games, you can win a lot more games like that. But as I stated earlier, with the evolution of the offense, throwing the ball around the yard, spreading the ball around, getting it to the playmakers has become more of the norm now. And you see less of those teams that like to run the ball, 30, 40 times a game. Probably you'll see some guys get 20, 21 touches. That's considered a lot now. But back then, 30, 40 times a game touching the ball for a running back was the norm. That's the 30, that's the 21, 20 times a game now is what it is, man. Jeremiah Cobb has a chance to continue a legacy at Auburn that is woven into the Auburn fabric when it comes to offense. He has the opportunity to become the 11th rusher since 2010. Since 2010, he has the opportunity to become the 11th rusher in Auburn history to rush for over 1,000 yards in a season. The 11th rusher since 2010 to rush for over 1,000 yards in a season since 2010. Now, it won't be the 11th season. It will actually be the 13th season because Auburn has had back-to-back 1,000-yard rushers in seasons, a la Michael Dyer, a la Trey Mason, literally back-to-back years from each other. But he has that opportunity to do that. Having 11 different guys or having 11 guys rush for 1,000 yards in a season in roughly a 15-year period, that's amazing. That's amazing. That tells you a lot about a program. That tells you a lot about what the identity of that offense should be. I'm just saying. Take a look at the names, man. You have Cam Newton in 2010. He won a Heisman Trophy. You had Michael Dyer in back-to-back seasons in 2010 and 2011. You had Trey Mason in 2012, 2013. He was a Heisman Trophy finalist. Nick Marshall in 2013. Cameron Artis Payne in 2014. Peyton Barber in 2015. Cameron Petway in 2016. Kerryon Johnson in 2017. Tank Bigsby in 2021. And then just last year, you had Jarquez Hunter, who rushed for 1,200 yards in the season. Not to mention the guys before them. You know, that's just since 2010 is what it's how we're framing this. We're framing this around since the 2010 period. But you have guys before them, you know, the Ben Tates of the world, the Kenny Irons of the world, the Carnell Williamses of the world. I mean, you have those guys that have created and established a legacy of running the football at Auburn and being able to do it consistently, because that's what Auburn football is. We're going to run the football. And we're going to make sure that we run the football. And then we're going to run the football some more. Currently, there are 136 teams in the FBS. Currently, in the FBS, in the football subdivision, there are currently 136 teams. Out of those 136, there are 41. And well, let's do it this way. There are 136 teams in FBS. There are 40 right now. There are 21 players in the FBS that are over 1,000 yards, that are 1,000 yards or over. 19 of those guys are within 120 yards of hitting that 1,000-yard mark. And Jeremiah Cobb is one of those guys. He's 64 yards away from hitting the 1,000-yard mark and being able to put his name on the list of Auburn running backs that have rushed for 1,000 yards. Not to mention, he can come back for another season and he can do this all over again, and he can put his name on that list and add his name to that list with Michael Dyer and Trey Mason and have back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. 1,000-yard season if he decides to come back next year and do it at Auburn. But you're literally talking roughly that we could have 41 players in college football in the FBS division, just off the top. If we add those 19, if all 19 of those guys hit 1,000 yards, 41 players in college football would have hit 1,000 yards. That's rare. That is rare. That is rare. And then let's break that down per team. That's roughly the same amount of teams. So basically, you have 21 guys on 21 different teams that have rushed for 1,000 yards, with the opportunity to have up to 19 more guys from 19 more different teams rush for 1,000 yards. You're talking roughly 30% of the teams in college football would have a 1,000-yard rusher. That's 3 out of 10. Depends on how you break that down and how you distribute math and how you look at numbers like that. That's still pretty rare. Still pretty rare. It's a good number, but it's still rare. Hitting 1,000 yards is still hard, and it's still hard. Rushing for 1,000 yards is hard, and I will argue it's even harder now in this era of college football with the evolution of the offense. You know, why would this be a monumental thing for Jeremiah Cobb? We've already stated it, man. Hitting 1,000 yards is hard. Rushing for 1,000 yards is hard. We've already stated that. But doing it in the Iron Bowl, man, that would make it special. We can look at him and say, well, yeah, Jeremiah Cobb rushed for 1,000 yards in 2025. He did that. He hit the 1,000-yard mark in 2025, 1,000+ yard mark in 2025, in the regular season, by the way, if he can get those 64 yards in his game. But when you add on to it, he did it in the Iron Bowl in the last game of the regular season. That's a little different. That hits a little different. That's a moment. That's like Carnell Williams going 80 yards on the first play type moment, in my opinion. That's a Chris Davis type moment, in my opinion. I could be exaggerating, but that's just how I see it. Another reason why this could be monumental for him, because it would not have come against what a lot of people would say is a cupcake team, because Alabama's not a cupcake team. Alabama has the best defense in the SEC. And if he can come in here and rush for 64 yards plus 70, 75 yards and get over 1,000 yards in this game against an Alabama defense that is number one in the SEC, and a lot of people say is one of the best in college football, that's different. Could he have done it against Mercer the previous week? Yeah, I wouldn't be doing this video right now. Probably the angle for this video would probably be different. But sitting here looking at him now saying he's 64 yards away from hitting 1,000 yards, and you have the number one defense statistically in the conference that you have to go do that against. That's different. That's different. That's major. Most importantly, and I'm going to solidify this because I have mentioned it earlier, it solidifies what Auburn is when it comes to offense. Running the football has to be a staple of this offense, whoever the offensive coordinator is. 11 different rushers in a 15-year period, 13 different 1,000-yard, 11 different rushers to rush for 1,000 yards in a 15-year period, 13 different 1,000-yard rushing seasons in a 15-year period since 2010. That's kind of telling you that's what we do. That's kind of telling you what we do. We haven't had a 1,000-yard receiver in that time period. We haven't had a prolific passer in that time period. But we have had 1,000-yard rushers in that time period. Now, we've had receivers come close to 1,000 yards. Let's not discount that. But the one thing that we can say, 11 different guys in that 15-year period since 2010 has rushed for 1,000 yards. 13 of those seasons in that 15-year period since 2010 have been 1,000-yard seasons. That tells me that Auburn is that Auburn should be running the football. And Jeremiah Cobb has his opportunity to etch his name in the history books and become one of those guys that have hit 1,000 yards in a season at Auburn. And maybe he can run it back again next year and do it again. And etch his name again in history with Michael Dyer and Trey Mason as back-to-back 1,000-yard rushers. I'll tell you this, though. I'll be happy. Because it will solidify everything that I just said here. It would. Jeremiah Cobb has the opportunity to put his name in the history books. Has a chance to be a legend of sort. Can't wait to see him do it. Can't wait.